Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're unpacking a really intense, highly dramatic complaint document that just surfaced. It alleges some serious corporate intimidation happening right inside the modern trading card industry. And, we're not talking about some minor customer service squabble here, no way. We're looking at a multi-billion-dollar slice of sports fandom. This complaint outlines a wild escalation, literally going from a professional boardroom meeting in Manhattan all the way to alleged mob-style intimidation tactics. It's a crazy peek into the back channels of the hobby world, and we're going to walk through exactly what this document claims, step by step.
So to really grasp the gravity of this situation, we've got to start with the inciting incident. The author, who we're just going to call the complainant, alleges they got this completely unsolicited phone call totally out of the blue. The guy on the other end says he's Nick Andrews, someone known over on X as Boston Card Hunter. Well, according to the document, Andrews escalated things way past your standard corporate check-in. He claimed that an internal email the complainant sent to a Fanatics executive had actually been forwarded straight to Mike Mahan, the CEO of Fanatics Topps Trading Cards. And then, he dropped a very specific, kind of terrifying moniker. He flat out told the complainant that he was the Ray Donovan of Fanatics.
Now, if you're not familiar with that name, Ray Donovan is a fictional TV character. He's a Hollywood fixer whose entire job is cleaning up the messy, scandalous, or downright illegal problems of the elite. And he definitely doesn't do it with polite negotiations, right? As the author points out in their complaint, the second they heard that name, their mind went straight to violence, intimidation, and stuff like Whitey Bulger's Winter Hill Gang. It was so intense that the author actually Googled, "Is Ray Donovan violent?" right in the middle of all this. The search results? Yeah, they confirm the character regularly uses violence. We're talking breaking hands and swinging baseball bats to keep people quiet. So to the complainant, this absolutely did not feel like a customer retention call. It felt like a direct warning.
Section 1. Inside the Fanatics boardroom.
Let's move backward a bit to see how this builds. How does an everyday trading card fan even end up on the radar of a self-proclaimed corporate fixer? Well, the complaint rewinds the clock to show a surprisingly professional origin story. The complainant's involvement kicked off around the Super Bowl when they joined a chat group called End_Fanatics, which was organized by a user named Babs on the mic. The whole point of the group was to highlight bad, overpriced products and terrible customer service over at Fanatics. But here's the thing. Instead of just yelling into the void, this group actually got noticed. Babs got asked to meet with Fanatics CEO Michael Rubin. The chat room was invited to join in, and the author of our complaint was designated as the group's official trading cards guy. They didn't show up to just complain either. They brought real business solutions. All of this culminated in a massive, totally cordial 5-hour boardroom meeting right inside Fanatics' New York City headquarters, sitting down with Michael Rubin himself and Andrew Lowicky, a Topps executive.
The absolute crucial point here is the staggering contrast in how these two sides handled things. On one hand, you've got the fans' approach. Sure, they were highly critical of the company, but they took those critiques directly to the executives in a professional, 5-hour sit-down in Manhattan, genuinely trying to help the brand improve. On the flip side, you have the alleged response from the company's ecosystem months down the line. An internal email sent in confidence to an executive somehow gets passed around and lands in the lap of a self-proclaimed fixer. And this guy makes an unprompted, hostile phone call comparing himself to a violent TV character. The sheer disparity in professionalism they're alleging here is honestly kind of mind-blowing.
Section 2. The card gambling connection. So what actually triggered this sudden wave of hostility? Well, after that super cordial meeting in New York, the complainant sent an email to Andrew Lowicky about a very specific rising grievance. A group of card collectors had started talking about a potential boycott of new Topps releases. Why? Because, and this is a direct quote from the complaint, they felt the company was using trading cards to groom kids and funnel them into something called breaks, which ultimately pushes users straight toward the Fanatics Sportsbook and the new Fanatics Casino. The author was essentially raising the alarm on a multi-billion-dollar pipeline that they felt was just deeply unethical.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it demystifies exactly what these breaks are and why they're causing such a massive uproar. For those of us outside the hardcore hobby, here's how a break allegedly works, according to the complaint. First, a customer pays money to buy a specific team slot in a sealed box of cards. Second, someone live streams the opening of that box. Third, you get whatever cards happen to belong to the team you bought. But the complaint explicitly calls this out as unregulated gambling. You're basically wagering money hoping to score a huge hit, like say a rare one-of-one Shohei Ohtani patch card that could easily fetch $1 million on the secondary market. And according to the author, this massive, high-stakes system is running with absolutely zero government oversight, basically acting as a wide-open gateway right into official sports betting apps.
Section 3.
The social media escalation.
Okay, so after getting that menacing phone call from Nick Andrews, the author decided they weren't going to just stay quiet. They took their concerns straight to X, publicly disclosing Andrews' undisclosed employment with Fanatics and airing out their worries about kids being funneled into unregulated gambling. And man, this public disclosure allegedly set off a severe, deeply personal retaliation. The document claims that Nick Andrews' social media accounts were already dedicated to bullying Fanatics' competitors on apps like Whatnot, but now those crosshairs locked right onto the complainant. The document alleges Andrews used an image of the author's face and their social handle to specifically demean the author's tragic, personal history of childhood abuse and torture. I mean, it gets incredibly dark. Andrews allegedly started soliciting his own followers in the comments, asking them to dig up and send him any personal info they could find on the author. On top of that, he allegedly started posting completely false claims to sabotage the author's personal business and giveaways.
Section 4. Seeking official intervention.
So, the crucial point is that this had completely spiraled past a simple disagreement over sports cards. It was now a targeted campaign to ruin the complainant's personal and artistic life. Faced with these escalating threats, the author had to make some really tough choices to protect themselves. They took immediate defensive action. Knowing Andrews had a documented history of bullying, they blocked the harassing accounts. But the fear of actual physical danger was so real, so profound, that they ended up deleting their personal social media entirely. Next, they used the contact info they got back at that 5-hour boardroom meeting and texted Michael Rubin's personal assistant directly. They explained that someone Rubin had hired was attacking them online right after threatening them over the phone. Finally, they had to take legal action. The author called the Burlington, Massachusetts police and filed an official report, case number 26-010672. The complaint even points out that the police took this seriously enough to go make direct contact with Mr. Andrews right at his house.
But honestly, maybe the most jarring piece of this whole timeline is the corporate response, or, well, the complete lack of it. When the author texted the CEO's personal assistant, literally pleading for help because an employee was using intimidation and harassment, the assistant's reply was just, "I will pass that on to Michael." And according to the complaint, the author hasn't heard a single peep since. Just absolute chilling silence from the corporate side, even after being explicitly told that an artist and a fan was being terrorized by a company representative. And this brilliantly illustrates the larger, much darker questions hanging over the modern hobby industry. We're looking at a complaint that absolutely forces us to ask, where exactly is the line between innocent sports fandom and multi-billion-dollar unregulated gambling? Furthermore, if these allegations are true, what happens when massive corporate monopolies allegedly deploy fixers to silence the very fans trying to hold them accountable? It's a blurry, incredibly high-stakes world, and this document suggests that speaking out against it might come with a very heavy, very personal price. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and we'll see you next time as we keep breaking down the facts behind the headlines.